This is a course in miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
This is a reading from Chapter 15, The Holy Instant, Section 11, Christmas as the End of Sacrifice. Fear not to recognize the whole idea of sacrifice as solely of your making, and seek not safety by attempting to protect yourself from where it is not. Your brothers and your father have become very fearful to you, and you would bargain with them for a few special relationships in which you think you see some scraps of safety. Do not try longer to keep apart your thoughts and the thought, that's the thought of God, that has been given you. When they are brought together and perceived where they are, the choice between them is nothing more than a gentle awakening, and as simple as opening your eyes to daylight when you have no more need of sleep.
The idea of sacrifice, your idea. Mm-hmm. God didn't say, give me sacrifices, okay? Whether it's goats or sheep or lambs or us or Jesus or anything. God didn't ask for sacrifices. And this is the point of contention that everybody has, that Christians have with the Course in Miracles, that, of course, God needs sacrifices.
Right.
No, we invented sacrifices. This is what it's saying here.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry about being apostate, but,
right.
you know, and the thing is, if you think about it, God, all-powerful, one, the totality of, if we can even say, equanimity, consistency, constancy,
yes,
perpetuity. Everything about God is a smooth sameness throughout. Why on earth would he require people to kill themselves or animals or themselves or go the extra mile to bring expiation, to bring appeasement? This is a distortion we have made. We've brought this distortion that is a distortion encouraged, demanded by the nature of the body. Course is saying, see, I'm going to pick and choose. I've got my little safe relationships.
Right.
I got my little safety points.
Yes, and those are the special ones.
God is pouring at me through the sonship, through reality. I'm immersed in the grandeur of God, who is absolutely pervasive in all aspects of reality, is pouring at me.
And all loving, too.
And all loving, potentially, if I were not fearful of God and my brothers.
Right.
I, as a great creator, God made me in his image and likeness, creator. So what do? I create fear. I create problems. I create a sonship that's going to destroy me. They're going to boil me in oil. They're going to roast me at the stake. They're going to send me to jail.
They're going to bomb you with incendiary bombs. All of that.
Those are the sacrifices that I make. I understand that, I don't give myself a terminal illness. I don't give myself World War III. I understand that. But this is begging us to understand the metaphysics, myself as creator, and the choice that I have over how this creation transpires.
Yeah, I agree. I think so.
I bargain with, Joanna, she's a safe. She's a safe place, okay? We're all copacetic. We're all safe. And she's my wife. I married her because she's so safe. Of course, there have been errors in the past.
That's the only reason, because I'm safe. No,
I'm safe. No,
yes.
So what I'm saying is, do you see what happens? What about when she's not safe?
Right.
Hold. My safe place. What happened to you?
Yeah.
That's the
true.
worst attack is when you thought it was a safe place. This is the problem with special relationships.
Yeah. And nowadays it's more and more pervasive, particularly in our age group, because dementia is on the rise all over the place. All of a sudden you're with a partner who's no longer the partner you married.
Or you were with
Which I
your
have
partner.
good friends where that's
Dementia,
happened
just
too.
go with menopause. Just go with a bad mood.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
Go with a guy who loses his job and suddenly turns into something else.
Right.
You know,
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
we flip. And so what happens is we establish these special relationships, as it says here, as little safety islands. These are our little,
Yes.
little islands of security in the middle of a stormy, violent sunship that wants to take me down.
Right. And then whenever anything,
And if something
creates a perturbation in it, then the fear goes up and,
if I see, it's like the movie The Thing, right? Where there's all these guys up in the North Pole or whatever, and then this alien comes in and they don't know which one.
Yeah.
Which one is it? And as soon as that arises out of your loved one, your special relationship, and they go bonkers on you, I mean bonkers meaning bad mood, meaning acting like you didn't expect them to. It's very threatening. I mean, it's an existential threat, not because of the horror of what that person is doing or saying. It's because your safety, you realize deep down inside, no safety there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Let's
Yeah,
move
so
on.
anyway, move on. The sign of Christmas is a star, a light in darkness. See it not outside yourself, but shining in the heaven within, and accept it as the sign the time of Christ has come. He comes demanding nothing. No sacrifice of any kind, of anyone, is asked by him. In his presence, the whole idea of sacrifice loses all meaning, for he is host to God, and you need but invite him, in who there is already, by recognizing that his host is one, and no thought alien to his oneness can abide with him there. Love must be total to give him welcome, for the presence of holiness creates the holiness that surrounds it. No fear can touch the host who cradles God in the time of Christ, for the host is as holy as the perfect innocence which he protects, and whose power protects him. He comes demanding nothing. That's Christ comes demanding nothing. He doesn't want sacrifice. Christ doesn't demand sacrifice of any kind of anyone. He doesn't want any of that. In his presence,
Christ's presence.
the Christ, the whole idea of sacrifice has no meaning. Why? Why would that be? For he, the Christ, is host to God.
It's a distinction that the Christ can be, seem to be like in a body, a Christed being, somebody who's anointed, somebody, in this world,
Right.
we look at them as an anointed being.
Put it this way. Somebody said, let's say, I got a nice Christmas card from somebody. The card, think of the nested realities. There's a message on the card. Hi, Merry Christmas, thinking of you from far away. Or just a stamp, the Johnson family.
Yeah.
That's a message.
Right.
One of those. Then you have the card, the selection of the card. Oh, bought it. It's one of those piles of cards, or it's a handmade card, or it's one that's reused from last year. That's another message. Okay. These are different layers of what's going on. Then we have the envelope. We have the envelope that the card is inside of. I'm going to say that here, for this purpose, the Christ is the card. The message on the card is God. The message on the card is God. Christ is the card. The envelope is us, the sonship. So we're talking about these nested relationships.
Love must be total. There can be absolutely no fear. There can be nothing that is opposite to love.
Well, and it's also expansive. It
Right.
includes the entire sonship. I can have no special relationships
That's
and
right.
have love.
Absolutely.
I can't say, here's my safe place. Merry Christmas. Aren't we glad? We're an
Yes,
island of
our
sanity.
little special relationship.
Yeah. I can't say that.
Right.
It has to be everyone. And I have to recognize that that's what this is about. So that's where love is total. It's not reserved for this or that person or this or that situation.
Right.
Right?
Yes. Love must be total to give him welcome. And that's a work.
Him being the Christ.
Yes.
For the presence of holiness creates
The holiness that surrounds
the
it.
holiness that surrounds it is the holiness I feel.
Yes.
I can't feel holiness unless holiness with a capital H is there. I can't have my share, my perception, my experience of holiness unless holiness is there. Holiness there depends on the welcome,
Yes.
meaning the love extended to the whole sonship.
That's right.
Then the Christ appears.
So that's true.
So the holiness that surrounds it, the holiness is an aura
Yes.
around holiness.
Holiness. Yes.
So there's two holinesses. There's holinesses as an emanation from holiness.
Yes. And then you recognize your own holiness in that emanation if the love was total. Because without total love for all, you will not experience the presence of holiness, which creates the holiness around it.
And as you said, no fear can touch the host. And this is the part that kind of blows my mind. No fear can touch the host who cradles God in the time of Christ. The Course has put God squarely in the manger.
Right.
God in the manger.
Yeah.
How
Yes.
did God get in the manger? He's inside the Christ.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes. He is inside the Christ.
The anointed one came,
Right.
invited by total love, okay? Total love. Let's say Mary, Joseph, the animals, the kings, the shepherds. I know it's not in here. But the world invited the Christ, and the Christ showed up. And then what happens? The Christ then is host to what?
God.
The one,
Yeah.
God.
God.
For the host, Christ, is as holy as the perfect innocence which he protects. What makes the Christ holy? It's not like the envelope that you get or the card that you get has anything special about it. Ain't nothing special about the Christ except one thing. The Christ's whole function is to contain God, to
Right.
cradle Godhead. That's what makes it special. That's what makes it good. That's what makes it holy.
Makes it whole and holy. Makes it whole, mean wholeness, completeness, and holy.
So when you get this Christmas card, because I'm just saying, you get a Christmas card from a dear, dear person, the Johnson family. Bam, they stamp it. The card came from Walmart. You identify it as one of the ones that were on the sale rack. And they have on the outside, you can see that they were cranking out. They had 775 to send out that year, and they scrawl their name across it, and they go, Merry Christmas. And you get it. There's no God there. There's no holiness there. And you know it. You open it, you feel it, and you go, cardboard, like this. That's all you say. You say cardboard, nothing. This is what this is. The Christ's function, the Christmas card's function, is to carry a message from a loved one.
Yes.
In terms of, I'm trying to draw an analogy in
Okay.
3D.
Okay. I can see that. So that it is the host of God, and which means it is a host of love. So you should sense that there's a host of love when you open up this gift,
Do you understand?
which
If I
is the
get a-
gift of God
and
for ourselves.
Let's go back to sacrifice, or whatever sacrifice enters into this thing.
It was at the very, very beginning. It was
Okay.
the first line.
So, what do you get for Christmas when it's stamped with the Johnsons and Mr. and Mrs. Johnson scrawl across the front, or Mr. Johnson or the Johnson twins or whoever it is, and they roll that across the front? What are you getting? You're receiving sacrifice. And what do you feel? Guilty.
Yeah, especially if you didn't send one back.
No. Because if you didn't send one, all it is if you didn't send one, you take on the guilt. And you go, see, I didn't deserve a decent message. I didn't deserve the love in the card because
Well,
I had no
that's true. That
intention of
happens.
sending one. For
Yeah.
sure, I'm telling you, this is what I
Yes.
feel, is that if I open it up and it's just got that rubber stamp or something like it, or worse yet, I guess printed out at the printer, because then they went to their trouble to fake it. Yeah. To lie outright.
And they had printed labels, and someone goes, just put the labels on. There's no handwriting at all.
But what do you receive?
I don't know,
okay, we got to dial it in. What do you receive? You receive a sacrifice, because they sat down at their kitchen table going, let's get this crap out of here. And I'm one of them. Mm-hmm. All they did was sacrifice for me to show their love, to show their care.
Mm-hmm. Right. But with all things within the illusion, you cannot know the circumstances behind anything. And so God, it's still an opportunity for a reinterpretation of even the card that has no life in it, no personal note, or no little something.
Okay, let's get into it then.
Yes.
Let's get into it.
I mean, well, the thing of it is that everything is either, those are my interpretations, disappointment, or I didn't reciprocate.
Okay, sure, on and on. So go on.
On and on and on and on. So, as with everything.
Call for love or call for love, or it
Yes.
is a statement of love.
Yes.
It's either I love you or I need love.
Yes.
And what did you get? When it stamps at Johnson's, they're
It's a
busy.
call for love.
They're busy. They're harried. So what you say is, you know what? Next year, don't send me anything. No, you
No,
don't
it's
say
a call.
that.
It's a call for love, because when it's like that, it means that they're trying to do the right thing, or let's say,
Or they're just cranking, and that's the
let's say
family structure.
there was some death in the family, or some ultimate other.
Oh, don't even go there.
circumstances.
It's
Come
just
on.
another.
No, let's just say there
It's
are
just
circumstances.
another chore. Okay,
Yes.
that's it. Let's just
Okay,
go
let's-
there.
okay, we're going
Rather
to-
than daydream about terminal illness and some, made-for-TV movie problem with cancer. Let's just say
Sometimes I find those things out,
it's
and I
just
go,
another chore.
okay, it's just another chore. So they did it.
Yeah, and I'm part of the chore. I am a part of the chore of their life, and I feel
And
bad
they're doing it because
I thought I was special.
because they want to at least look like they did their proper duty.
Anyway, we should probably go on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
There is a nested thing. That's all we really need to recognize, that there's no sacrifice of any
well, the thing to
kind.
recognize is, in this, the infant in the manger, according to this, the infant in the manger is
God.
God.
Close to God. Yeah,
God.
that's right.
It looks like goo goo gaga because that's Christ. And it came in because of a message of love, a request with no fear.
Right.
And we could drag Mary into this, but we won't.
Yes. All right. Paragraph 3. This Christmas, give the Holy Spirit everything that would hurt you. Let yourself be healed completely, that you may join with him in healing. And let us celebrate our release together by releasing everyone with us. Leave nothing behind, for release is total. And when you have accepted it with me, you will give it with me. All pain and sacrifice and littleness will disappear in our relationship, which is as innocent as our relationship with our Father, and as powerful. Pain will be brought to us and disappear in our presence. And without pain, there can be no sacrifice. And without sacrifice, there love must be. Consider it a good exercise to actually kind of lay it out, do your little journal, and find out where those pains are still harboring that you don't even know, until something matches it and it brings it up again. Oh.
Okay, but there's this New Age thought that you're going to heal the wounds.
No
way, Jose.
You got to forgive them.
If you follow the trajectory of the Christ, and we talked about it in the last one, we'll talk about it again and again and again, which is when Jesus rose from the dead, he still had holes all over the place.
Right.
So when let's say I punted, I did something bad in that old relationship, or something was done to me and I reciprocated in kind, and it's the proverbial cluster problem.
Right.
And I just look at it, and it's just a bad feeling when I go back into it. Just a bad feeling. That's not going to go away. Okay? The bad feeling doesn't, in other words, the event's not going to go away. My interpretation of the event may not go away. I really did screw up. They really did come at me, So I have holes in my hands and in my feet. They really went there. I got nailed to the cross of time-space. Now, what happens, though, is I look at them when they're 40 years old and say, what do you know? Stuff. My feelings about it. My bad feelings are just stuff. And they go away.
Yeah. Well, but until you actually review it, sometimes you don't realize that you're still harboring something.
Well, but
that's my only consideration for that.
Okay, take the Christmas card thing, since we started with that. How many Christmas? Well, there's a bunch. The answer is a lot. Where you've opened the Christmas card, you got the stamp, you looked at it and said, "Oh well," and you just
So many you don't even send them anymore.
Right.
So,
No,
anyway.
no Christmas card. I'm just using that as an example. Okay,
Yes.
classic, old,
Yeah.
date me, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And you don't go into it. You don't go into it. I'll guarantee you, a year later, you will remember when you're trying to say, "Oh, I'd really like to do better and send some notes out." You are not going to send a note to that person. They're off your little list. So you have carried that grudge,
Yes.
in a sense, all year. So until you go into it in the moment, how do you feel when you see that rubber stamp or that label or that whatever? How do you feel? Or when you go back into your past and you identify wounds that are there. When you identify those things, if you don't go into them and you don't try to be with it, and that's what it says here, bring all your pain to
All the
the
hurts.
Christ.
Yes, all of them.
Jesus is saying we can handle it. And Jesus didn't say, together, pain is going to fly right over our heads. He said, no,
And it's going to be brought to you.
it's going to be brought.
Pain will be brought to
The
us.
pain is going to be brought to
and
us.
disappear in our presence, because now you're unified. You're unified with Christ, with Jesus.
So, see, Christ doesn't, therefore, change the nature of my reality. In other words, if the nature of my reality is, let's say I was born under an unlucky star and I attract bad stuff, it doesn't mean that the bad stuff quits coming to me.
Right.
It means with Jesus, with Christ, in this Spirit, with the Holy Spirit, it comes to me and then goes away. It
Right.
comes and then goes. It
Yes.
comes and it goes. It doesn't mean my star changed.
Right. No, the star is still within you, that star of heaven. And somewhere in here, it said right there, all pain and sacrifice and littleness will disappear in our relationship, which is as innocent as our relationship with our Father and as powerful. So it's really explaining the power of uniting with the one, the power of recognizing that the one has never left, and now will I invite it because it needs an invitation. It says it must welcome it. It must have it there. Otherwise, the power is lost. Unless I'm aware that I've decided to unite with God in this moment and in this moment and this moment, whatever is up for me, then I won't be able to handle the pain that's brought to me.
I know-
It will not be there because I am not joining with the force that is the most powerful, most loving force in the universe.
Well,
I should bring my Russian dolls out.
No, because this is Christmas,
Right.
it's asking for a new way to view the power spot. In this one, it's saying go in and in and in instead of out and out and out. Instead of saying God is the all-comprehensive cosmic perfection that wraps his arms around all of reality. It's saying, no, God is the hot, glowing, radiant flame of love that exists inside of everyone. So it's a strange reversal. It
Right.
changes my whole relationship. Suddenly, you want to protect a flame. You
Well,
know?
that's true. Yeah.
You want to, now the
And
thing
yet-
is, it's the powerful one.
Yeah, so it doesn't need any protection. I mean,
Wait, I think it talks about that in here. Guilt and sacrifice are simultaneous.
right.
Guilt and sacrifice are opposite sides of the same coin.
Right.
Buying life insurance, I have to entertain damage to life and limb to buy life insurance. In other words, I have to create within me a simulation of disaster to buy health insurance, life insurance. I'm not saying not to do it. This isn't advice. I'm just saying it's simultaneous.
Yeah, and that's going to come up. Definitely. I think it's even in the next paragraph.
Okay.
So why don't you go ahead?
We're on 4, right?
Yes.
You who believe that sacrifice is love, must learn that sacrifice is separation from love. For sacrifice brings guilt as surely as love brings peace. Guilt is the condition of sacrifice, as peace is the condition for the awareness of your relationship with God. Through guilt, you exclude your father and your brothers from yourself. Through peace, you invite them back, realizing that they are where your invitation bids them be. What you exclude from yourself seems fearful, for you endow it with fear and try to cast it out, though it is part of you. Who can perceive part of himself as loathsome and live within himself in peace? And who can try to resolve the conflict of heaven and hell in him by casting heaven out and giving it the attributes of hell without experiencing himself as incomplete and lonely? This is a really great one, because somebody says sacrifice brings guilt. Wait. Sacrifice, there's a phrase somewhere in religious circles, sacrifice is the measure of love.
Right. That's right.
Sacrifice doesn't bring guilt. Sacrifice is the very measurement.
I know. You and I had that discussion, because I said I'm having trouble with sacrifice as guilt.
So once again, let's go back to a parent changing a child's diaper, and that parent has other things that they think that they should be doing. Therefore, the child is what's the word for it? Making an incursion on their space, their time, their desires. They're importuning the parent, so the parent feels irritable. So the parent then looks at the child, and they bring themselves to this diaper situation, thinking, the faster I get this done, the faster I can play golf or fill in the blanks. Just be out of here. I don't want to do this. And if that parent is realizing that the child is talking baby talk for, I love you, I need you, you're part in my life, we are one, we are united, I'm nothing without you. There's this kind of beautiful message coming from the baby. If the parent can hear it that way, then they can say, wow, what a great opportunity I'm in.
Right.
And now, just spontaneously, they crapped once again. It's my to spit up. Here I am, not sacrificing, but interacting in the language of the baby, interacting in the language of what else for a parent and a baby, what else does the language of care look like?
Right.
It's not going to be a Christmas card. It's that kind of stuff. It's diapers and burps and all this other kind of thing. So if the parent is bringing themselves to the child as a loving parent, there's no thought of sacrifice. They don't say to themselves, I'm sacrificing.
Right.
They're grateful. Here's a child calling out of me.
Yes, they require you.
They're bringing forth a potential that I didn't know was there until I had this baby. That's the space. That's what they're steeped in. Now, if they can't get there, and instead they see the child like just as a block between them and doing the laundry or playing golf.
And sometimes between the relationship between the husband and wife.
Right. Block between another, loving relationship. So if they're a block for that, then being a good parent, they will rise to the occasion and sacrifice their time and change that diaper. Like a good parent. And they will remember, see what I did. I'm a lesser person and you benefited. You benefited at my expense. So
where's sacrifice and guilt in that particular instance?
In that situation, sacrifice is the parent sacrificing their time for the kid. And the guilt is the parent simultaneously feels guilty because they realize this isn't love. The parent has substituted sacrifice for love.
Okay.
See, it's impossible for the parent to sacrifice a bit of themselves for the child. In other words, if they are a loving parent, they have to equate that sacrifice with love. They have to equate the two. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
It's very subtle. The only reason it's subtle is because it is so built in, so structurally integral to the way we live day to day to day to day. Do you understand what I'm saying? A parent comes...
No, and now when we're older and everything, there's all kinds of volunteer opportunities for me because I tend to put myself out there. And if I approach whatever this thing that I've signed up for as a sacrifice of my time for the benefit of some community thing that's going on, then I am not approaching it in the ways of God, in the ways of the Christed being, which says, no, I mean, my very presence is something in whatever these things are. It doesn't really matter, but there's not sacrifice. Am I bringing a loving gesture towards it?
I know, but then there's this whole other thing
so how would you...
self-honesty.
Yes.
Why'd you sign up in the first place?
Yeah.
Because I knew they were going to demand sacrifices.
That's true.
That's why I signed up. Because I want to be a decent human being.
Oh,
and
that
decent
happens,
human
yes.
beings join the Moose Club. You know?
Well, no, that's true. That's happened.
And in the Moose
then all of a
Club,
sudden you're like, what the heck did I do?
I got to hang out with a bunch of people I don't want to hang around with. You know, that's the Moose Club.
Yes.
Or fill in the blanks. Any organization. I sign up. I sacrifice. Look at me as a student citizen. I'm an A citizen. You know, citizen A. And the thing is, I have sacrificed. And the reason I sacrificed is, why? Because I felt guilty. Yeah. I'm not measuring up as a citizen.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I need to sacrifice to fix my guilt.
Yeah, that does happen. Yeah, very much.
So that's what I'm saying. It's the opposite sides of the same coin. The fact that we can even talk about them in different terms is an accident of the time space because they are simultaneous. Any sacrifice you make is based on guilt, and it also results in guilt.
But I do know that if I enter it in as like God goes with me everywhere I go, God is with me everywhere I go, then again, everything is an opportunity for a relationship to see the Christ and see the sonship in all things around me, all beings around me. So how are you going to know unless you put yourself out there? That's how I look at it. Those are my opportunities to actually test the course, like to see where I am as opposed to staying insular. You know,
but you know, again, there needs to be some self-honesty about. Then do I just, if I'm at home alone, I'm useless. There's a lot of Trappist monks that would love to just be at home alone and not making cheese and not baking bread.
That's
so that
right.
they could do their hours and pray and walk quietly in the woods. Why do you trade that? Why, you know, even in the relative sense, why do you feel like you need to engage, you know?
I can't know if the Holy Spirit is working in me unless I'm in relationship to at least one other. I have to be in relationship with at least one other. Otherwise, I can't see any reflections back. I can't get any witnesses to where I am actually being in my life.
I just want to point out that you're limiting God because God doesn't need those people.
Yes, he does.
No, he does not. He does not need those people to be your witnesses. Those witnesses, as Jesus said, I can resurrect descendants of Abraham out of these rocks. I don't need Abraham or his descendants. I don't need...
Okay,
God doesn't need me to be in relationship with a bunch of people because they will come into my life. You know, I don't have to design that world. I don't have to sign up for Moose Club to be in relationship with
I see
people.
what you're saying. Yeah.
They show up. You know, because what happens is you go, well, you know, I mean, I'm going to go over to Moose Club because I need to mix it up.
No, and each time it wasn't me.
I don't really want to play pool, but I'm going to spend every Wednesday playing pool.
It was never me seeking a volunteer. They seek me. So it was an opportunity to have, you know, in other words, anyway.
I know, but there's a
when do you say yes and when do you say no? That's where it comes down to.
But there's a moment that comes up, and this does come up, and you know this full well, that when you say yes, you design your life because you know what it takes for God to do his thing. Yeah. You know, so you design your life a certain way. That's called ego. You design your life a certain way because you think you're going to set God up in the good thing. You know, he's going to be able to send witnesses to you. And otherwise, he wouldn't be able to. You're limiting him. He wouldn't be able to send you the witnesses of the miracle or the holy instant unless you put your face out there in the world on the sidewalk. No, God will give you those witnesses within your own body, within your own mind, within your own thoughts, within your own telephone, within your own family, within your own pets, within the neighbor across the street.
Well, why does it mention brothers all the time? It has to be a sense that there's a brothers out there.
Brothers is a stand-in for the sonship.
Right.
That is all the people in the world. It's not saying brothers like the more brothers I connect with, the more opportunities God has for giving me a holy relationship. It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
I live in a reality. That reality is created by God. God is cradled inside of me in this Christmastide.
Yes.
As well as being the big envelope.
Yes, it is.
So I don't have to really go out of my way to set God up for nothing.
Right. No, I understand that. I understand what you're saying, because God will bring the opportunities to you. Paragraph 5, as long as you perceive the body as your reality, so long will you perceive yourself as lonely and deprived. And so long will you also perceive yourself as a victim of sacrifice, justified in sacrificing others. For who could thrust heaven and its creator aside without a sense of sacrifice and loss? And who could suffer sacrifice and loss without attempting to restore himself? Yet how could you accomplish this yourself when the basis of your attempts is the belief in the reality of the deprivation? Deprivation breeds attack, being the belief that attack is justified. And as long as you would retain the deprivation, attack becomes salvation and sacrifice becomes love. So the opposite happens whenever I see I'm deprived from, again, those are the senses of sacrifice that you were speaking of. In other words, I would blame them for my deprivation, my feeling deprived of either my private time or whatever else I thought I should be up to,
It's a little bit like hitting your hand with a hammer so that you can feel good when you're not hitting your hand with a hammer.
Yeah.
There is that, because if I hit my hand with a hammer, well, that's pretty crazy to do in the first place. But there is relief when I'm not hitting it, And not only that, there's a reason for cutters, and there's a reason that people harm themselves. It's because it releases endorphins and adrenaline and different things in the body spontaneously. And it's a way, literally, no pun intended, of hacking the body for good feelings. Because the body is built to deliver those good feelings based on giving yourself grief.
Right.
You give yourself grief, and the body is built, out of its wisdom. And so rather than saying...
I've heard people get addicted to tattoos for that very reason.
Yeah, no, I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah. Experience the suffering, you suffer sacrifice and loss from whatever you thought that you, quote, wanted to be up to. And yet you want to go ahead and restore in your life some sense of control, some sense of like, I got my life back together. I got this much time for myself. I can now meditate. I can do whatever else, go garden, the things that I like to do. Then I'm not using God at all. This is just me playing, shuffle the card deck. I'll give some here and I'll take back some here, and I'll give some here and I'll take back some here, to try and keep a sort of a balance in my life. I haven't, in that kind of a statement, I'm not bringing God into the picture at all. I'm not. So it can't be done there. Deprivation breeds attack. So now I'm feeling attack. I'm either thinking they're attacking me. I want to attack back because, I'm feeling deprived.
Well, you've got a situation where, like, a person, they're going about their business, and for whatever reason, let's say I'm 15 years old, and I'm afraid of the world out there. And, I've been sheltered from certain skills. I've been sheltered from certain social settings. And so I'm afraid. So I indulge a lot of my neurosis around those fears. I then remove myself increasingly from other human beings. I interpret that as them rejecting me. And so I feel victimized and rejected by the world.
Oh, yeah. I believe that happens a lot, actually.
A lot. And when I feel victimized and rejected by the world, because of the start of the process, now I'm looking for a way to lash back. So now I want to bond with other people that are like victims. They've been victimized just like I have. Really what we are is we are a club of neurotics, a club of wounded people. And now we're in search of the people who did it to us. You know, and that's going to make us feel better. So ironically, the person who is in a kind of a hell because of feeling attacked, and it was a made-up attack, now become the attacker. And they finally feel strength.
Yeah, there's power in
and
that.
empowerment in the attack. So this is the problem.
Ego power. Yeah.
It's the problem with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we can move on because that is mostly just about how the ego responds to this idea of sacrifice and justifying the sacrificing others because of it with this deprivation.
Paragraph 6. So is it that in all your seeking for love, you seek for sacrifice and find it. Yet you find not love. It is impossible to deny what love is and still recognize it. The meaning of love lies in what you have cast outside yourself, and it has no meaning apart from you. It is what you prefer to keep that has no meaning, while all that you would keep away holds all the meaning of the universe and holds the universe together in its meaning. Unless the universe were joined in you, it would be apart from God, and to be without Him is to be without meaning. So in the same way, I am like that 15-year-old, and I'm really afraid of what, because of the original separation or whatever metaphysic and explanation we want to throw at it. I'm afraid of God because I think God is an attacker, and so I separate myself from God because I have a misinterpretation that my source is actually a torturer of some sort. They're out to get me. They're going to ruin me. They're going to take up my time. They're going to take away the good stuff. I've called it a moralistic God or a punishing God or a vengeful God or, too much power frightens me because I feel very unpowerful. I've separated myself from that power. So I isolate myself from God. And now, isolated, I go to my brothers and I look at them and I look at those isolated people and I say, let's get together and form an alliance. Those are all the special relationships that make us feel better in our separation from God. But all you end up with is, as it says, sacrifices. That's why, I get busy in organizations, I get busy in this and this and this. I sacrifice my time, I sacrifice my efforts. And some people are so convinced that those sacrifices are love that they flop down exhausted at the end of the day, feeling absolutely horrible, knowing full well that they're the most loving, wonderful, A-type person that you could possibly want. But they will never ever find love. You can turn up the heat and they'll go, okay, well, maybe I need to do this in relation to a green movement. Maybe I need to do this in relation to a 12-step movement. Maybe I need to do this in relation to, a spiritual movement.
Right.
And no matter where I go, I'm stranded in my effort, not calling it the love that I'm heaping on the world is nothing but sacrifice.
Right. Yeah, it has to be recognized for what it is.
And the more of that I do, the more guilt comes. The more the society seems hostile, the more I seem inadequate.
To the point where sometimes you just say, forget it all. And you just say, I'm not, you just shut down all the associations and just go into your little hole. I
think that this went close to 2 hours. So I'm going to split it into two pieces. I don't know where I'm going to split it. So do you want to add something?
Yeah, just that there'll be a part 1. So part 1 and then part 2. So please look for both parts to complete this section 11 as Christmas as the end of sacrifice. And we appreciate your time.